The Michael Jackson biopic drops in exactly 7 days. And I need you to know something before you buy that ticket. The film that is hitting theaters on April 24th is not the film that was originally made. The entire third act was scrapped. $15 million in reshoots, 3 release date delays, and the reason it all happened? A legal clause that prevented filmmakers from showing you what may be the most important part of Michael Jackson's story. I'm going to tell you everything they couldn't, but stay with me. First, let me give you some context on what this biopic actually is for anyone who hasn't been following the story. The film is called Michael. It is directed by Antoine Fuqua, the man behind Training Day and The Equalizer. Michael Jackson is played by his own nephew, JaafarJackson, Jermaine's son. And from the trailer, the resemblance is honestly remarkable. The film covers Michael's childhood, his time with the Jackson 5, and his rise to becoming the king of pop. The original budget was $155 million. It was supposed to drop in April 2025, then October 2025. Now it is finally coming on April 24th, 2026. 3 delays over more than a year. And the reason for all of that is what I'm about to tell you. If you watched my last video about Paris Jackson refusing to support this film, this is the deeper layer she was talking about. This is what she meant when she said the film contains full-blown lies. This is the context you need. Here's what happened. Behind the scenes of this production that most people don't know, the original script, written by screenwriter John Logan, was built around one of the most controversial moments in Michael Jackson's entire life: the 1993 child molestation accusations made by a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler. According to multiple reports, including Variety and Rolling Stones, the original film was structured so that the Jordan Chandler story formed the backbone of the entire third act. It was literally the opening and closing framing device of the movie. The film reportedly opened with a scene of Michael Jackson staring at his own reflection in a mirror. Police car lights flashing behind him at Neverland Ranch in 1993, as the accusations came crashing down around him. And here's the important part. The film reportedly went to great lengths to portray Jackson as the victim. The original script apparently framed the accusations as the efforts of a money-hungry family trying to take advantage of a superstar. It championed Michael's innocence. So this wasn't a film that was going to attack Michael Jackson. It was a film that was going to defend him, and they still couldn't show it. Why? Because of a legal clause nobody bothered to read. Now, in 1994, Jordan Chandler's family reached a civil settlement with Michael Jackson, reportedly worth between $20 and $25 million. And buried inside that settlement was a clause, a legally binding agreement that said Jordan Chandler's story and identity could never be depicted or mentioned in any film about Michael Jackson's life. Now, here's where it gets truly unbelievable. This clause existed for over 30 years. The Jackson estate, which served as a producer on this film, signed off on the production. The director was hired. The screenwriter wrote the entire script. They filmed for months. The movie wrapped in May 2024. And nobody discovered this clause until after filming was complete. According to sources, a Financial Times report in September 2024 revealed that the Jackson estate had quietly paid 5 accusers to remain silent. That report triggered attorneys to go back and review the original Chandler settlement, and that is when they finally found the clause. A source described the situation to People magazine as a, quote, nightmare scenario. The filmmakers, including Fuqua, producer Graham King, and screenwriter Logan were reportedly completely unaware of the binding agreement throughout the entire production. They made an entire movie around a story they were legally forbidden from telling. The entire third act had to be thrown out. The cast was called back for 22 days of reshoots. The Jackson estate, whose own legal oversight caused this entire mess, had to pay for the reshoots themselves. The cost, between $10 and $15 million on top of a budget that was already $155 million. And because the reshoots happened in Los Angeles instead of Santa Barbara, where the original filming took place, they didn't even qualify for California's state tax rebates. Every single dollar of those $15 million in reshoots came directly out of someone's pocket. The screenwriter's house was also damaged in the Palisades wildfire during the reshoot period, adding even more delays to an already chaotic production. 3 release date delays, $15 million in reshoots, and a completely different movie than what was originally made. All because of a clause that should have been found in 2022 when this film was announced. So what does the film look like now that the Jordan Chandler story has been completely removed? Well, according to a source who has seen the finished film, the movie now ends on a completely different note. Instead of dealing with the accusations that haunted the final years of Michael Jackson's life, the film now ends during his bad tour. The final scene shows Michael preparing to take the stage at the peak of his career, triumphant, celebrated at his absolute zenith. It is by all accounts a celebratory ending, a feel-good ending, an ending that leaves audiences inspired and uplifted. And that is exactly what Paris Jackson called sugar-coated. Because the real story, the complicated, messy, legal fraud story of what happened to Michael Jackson in his final decades is nowhere in this film. Not because the filmmakers didn't want to tell it, but because they literally were not allowed to. And while all of this biopic drama was unfolding, something else happened in February of 2026 that barely got covered. 4 members of the Cascio family, longtime family friends of Michael Jackson, filed a federal lawsuit alleging that Jackson drugged, sexually assaulted, and raped them over more than a decade, beginning when some of them were as young as 7 years old. The lawsuit names the Michael Jackson Company and the state connected entities as defendants. In March 2026, a Los Angeles judge sent the case to private arbitration, meaning this legal battle will now happen completely out of the public. No court documents, no public testimonies, no coverage. So as the biopic hits theaters, painting Jackson as a triumphant legend at the peak of his powers, there is an active federal lawsuit alleging sexual abuse that has been sent behind closed doors where the public cannot see it. I'm not telling you Michael Jackson is guilty whatsoever. He was never convicted of any crime and always maintained his innocence. And I'm telling you that the full story is significantly more complicated than what you're going to see on screen April 24th. And you deserve to know that before you watch it. So here's where I am with all of this. I'm still going to see this biopic. Antoine Fuqua is a serious filmmaker. JaafarJackson's performance looks genuinely impressive. Michael Jackson's music shaped generations of people, including me. And his film about his rise, his childhood, the Jackson 5, his genius, is worth watching on its own terms. But I'm going in with my eyes wide open, and I think you should too. Because what you're about to see is not the full story of Michael Jackson. It is a legally edited, financially motivated, state-approved version of his story. A version that ends with him triumphant because the version that showed everything else had to be legally destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. Paris Jackson tried to tell us this now. I said it in my prior video. She said it was sugar-coated. She said it contained full-blown lies. Now you know exactly what she meant. Does that mean you shouldn't see it? That is entirely your decision. But seeing it with full information and critical thinking is always better than seeing it blind. Michael Jackson was one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. His story, the full story, deserves to be told honestly. Whether this film does it, that is something you're going to have to decide for yourself on April 24th. The Michael Jackson biopic hits theaters 1 week from today. I'm going to be there. Maybe not opening night, maybe so. But I will have my full, honest reaction right here on KrowndByKenzie. I want to know if the finished film lives up to the hype or if Paris Jackson was right about everything. But before I get there, I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, are you still going to see the biopic after everything I just told you? And number 2, do you think Michael Jackson deserved a biopic that told the full uncensored story? Or was the estate right to protect his legacy the way they did? Drop both your answers below. That debate, I feel, is going to be fire, and I want to hear from every single person. Before we go, make sure to check the descriptions below, as I have linked two books from my Amazon store about Michael Jackson, one for the adults and the other for the kids who may be curious about Michael Jackson. This royal kingdom is constantly growing thanks to you guys, and the purchase of these two books is definitely another way you can support further. Also, I always forget, if you're married or about to get married, check out my self-written ebook, Prenups, Postnups, and Power Moves, a simple, honest guide to money, protection, and power in relationships. I'll link it below. Please support. I'm your host, McKenzie. This is KrowndByKenzie, where we keep it royal and we keep it real. Subscribe so you do not miss my full reaction when the film drops. And if you haven't seen my last video about Paris Jackson and why she refused to support this film, make sure you watch that first and then come back, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.